All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about mastering the art of really powerful, concise writing. But here's the twist. Our teacher today? It's not some famous novelist or a boring old grammar expert. Nope. It's actually a gap-toothed kid in a yellow nightshirt from like over 100 years ago. Seriously. And I know what you're thinking. A comic strip from 125 years ago? What could that possibly teach us about writing today? In our world of endless emails, articles, and social media feeds. Well, it turns out the game hasn't changed as much as you think. The challenge of grabbing someone's attention when they're totally distracted, that's timeless. And the solution? Well, that is too. This quote right here, this is the whole idea in a nutshell. The sharpest blade has no excess metal. Think about that. Powerful writing is just like that blade. There's no waste. Every single piece, every word has a job to do. It's not about adding more stuff. It's actually about being brave enough to cut things out. All right, so to really get this, we've got to take a trip back in time. We're heading to New York City. The date is February 16th, 1896, and we're about to see how a quiet little revolution started in just 4 tiny boxes on a newspaper page. So, before the yellow kid came along, newspaper drawings were, well, they were a lot. They were super elaborate, crammed with text, and honestly, you really had to work to figure them out. But then the creator, this guy Richard F. Outcault, he gets this tiny little space, just 4 panels, to tell a whole story. And that limitation, that constraint, forced him to be unbelievably efficient. And guess what? People loved it. The whole idea of comic strips just exploded across the country, all because they proved that a short, focused story could hit way harder than a long, rambling one. I mean, just look at the difference here. We're going from something that demands a ton of your effort to something that tells you a whole story in literally seconds. Outcault figured out that in a super crowded newspaper, you have to grab someone's attention immediately. There was absolutely no room for fluff, no wasted space, and that right there is the first huge lesson. And this leads us right to the main idea, the secret sauce that Outcault stumbled upon, maybe even by accident. We're calling it the 4-panel rule. And it's all about this kind of crazy idea that when you have really strict limits, you actually become more creative, not less. Okay, so let's get clear on what we actually mean by concise writing. It's not just about making things short, okay? It's about being efficient. It's about making every single word pull its own weight, earn its spot on the page. The goal isn't just to be brief, it's to get the maximum amount of meaning out of the fewest words possible. Just like Outcault couldn't waste a panel, a great writer can't afford to waste a single word. And this quote just nails it, right? Constraints don't limit expression, they clarify it. That 4-panel limit didn't trap Outcault. No, it set him free. It forced him to get disciplined and ask the most important question. What is the absolute, most essential part of this story? And once he stripped away all the junk, that core idea it shined, super bright, super clear. And this is why a 125-year-old comic strip is so relevant right now. Think about it. That crowded newspaper page from 1896, that's your Twitter feed. It's your Instagram. It's your inbox. The challenge is exactly the same. We've got maybe a few seconds, if we're lucky, to hook someone and convince them to stick around. We have to deliver clarity and value right up front, or we just become part of a noise. All right, so we get the why. We see the problem. Now let's talk about the how. Let's actually break down Outcault's method and turn it into a practical framework that you can use to make your own writing way more clear and powerful. Okay, this table really lays it all out for us. First up, step 1, Outcault always knew the punchline before he even started drawing. For us writers, that means you have to know your core point before you write a single word. It stops you from wandering off. Step 2, he got rid of any panel that didn't move the story forward. Our job is to cut anything, a word, a sentence, whatever, that doesn't directly serve that core point. Now, step 3 is huge. He let the reader fill in the gaps between the panels. We need to do the same. Skip the obvious stuff. Don't over-explain everything. It actually makes things move faster. And finally, step 4, he used pictures, not long descriptions. For us, that means using strong, concrete nouns and active verbs, stuff that paints a picture in the reader's head. But beyond all these steps, there's a deeper secret to all this, a more fundamental truth about what it means to be concise. And I bet it's not what you're thinking. It's not about playing around with individual words. It's about something much, much bigger. So here's the real kicker. Most of us, when we think about editing, we think about what's on the left here, cosmetic cutting. Deleting a few adjectives, maybe shortening a sentence. That's just polishing. But real concision, that's what's on the right. That's about making big, brave cuts. It's about having the guts to delete an entire paragraph or heck, a whole chapter because you realize it just doesn't belong. And let's be honest, this is so hard to do, right? We fall in love with our own sentences. We work hard on a paragraph so we get attached to it. We try to polish a weak section to make it better instead of just admitting it needs to go. But think about Outcault. He didn't waste time trying to fix a bad panel, he just cut it. And that's the killer mindset we need to adopt. Okay, let's bring this all home. We've got the history, we've got the theory, we've got the mindset. Now it's time to get practical. Let's turn all this into a simple checklist you can literally use the very next time you sit down to write. Okay, here we go. Number 1, know your punchline. Before you write anything, finish this sentence. The one thing my reader absolutely must understand is blank. Number 2, use the 50% test. After your first draft, challenge yourself to cut half the content, not just half the words. Be ruthless. Delete whole sections. Number 3, go on a hunt for empty filler phrases. Things like due to the fact that. Get rid of them. Replace it with one strong word like because. Number 4, trust your reader. Seriously, if they can figure something out from the context, you do not need to spell it out. Number 5, do the impatient read. Read your own work and pretend you're bored and in a hurry. Any part that makes you want to skim or skip, that's the part that needs to go. And finally, number 6, be concrete. Don't just tell us he was angry. Show us, right? He slammed the door. Let the reader see it. So I want to leave you with this one last thought, a question really. After all this talk about frameworks and cutting and clarity, what if the biggest enemy of your great writing is just your own fear? Think about it, the fear of being misunderstood. That's what makes us add more words, more examples, more clutter, and ironically, that's the very thing that makes our message get lost. The courage to be concise, in the end, is really about having the courage to trust yourself, your message, and your reader.